It's such a exciting moment in time for the club. It's 10 years since we rebranded as Melbourne United, and I think, like the state of Victoria, it's been such a progressive focus for us as a club to really emerge in our sporting capital of Australia that we are here in Melbourne, as one of those clubs that really want to be seen as best practice when it comes to being seen as a values-driven organisation. And probably the last 2 or 3 years is when we've really lent into that side of things and created our own purpose around using the power of basketball to inspire, entertain and enrich our community. And I think under that we've got these 3 fantastic values that underpin that around selfless, excellence and inclusive.
As an organisation, our values and our purpose underpin everything that we do. So it was important for us to have a visual identity out in the marketplace that helped connect to that more. We were already walking the walk, being a values-led organisation, and now we have a brand to back that up and connects to that. Our old logo and our old visual identity was great for our first 10 years as a club, but we had changed a lot since then. So this is just a great way of connecting who we are from a visual perspective to who we identify as a club. So from the start of the rebrand process, there was a large body of work that went into figuring out what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. But we enlisted the services of a creative studio here in Melbourne called South Southwest.
Yeah, we've been working with the club for about 5 years now, and I think there's been a lot of momentum building to this point as far as thinking about the brand as a whole. So most fans and members and people who are at the club would have seen that, we've been this rebrand moment is kind of the culmination of a lot of change that's been happening.
As custodians of the Melbourne United brand, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with changing it. We wanted to figure out how we could naturally and authentically bring in our purpose and values through, visual means. So bringing in the passion that we had from everybody that was part of this process, and then helping drive towards the outcomes and goals that we had for the whole project was really important.
The one thing that really stood out for us is just the level of engagement that we undertook in this process. It wasn't rushed. It was very thought through. We talked to a lot of different people from owners of the club down to regular fans, and then local community, of course, and First Nations community. So branding is really about storytelling and giving people elements in which they can connect with and believe in and kind of find meaning in that resonates with them personally.
We are Melbourne. That's who we are. That's who we represent. We're very proud to be representing Melbourne day in, day out, and the state of Victoria more broadly. But as a values-led organisation, we strive to be the most inclusive sporting organisation in the country. So to have United as the key word mark as part of our logo, it just was a natural fit.
Again, we put a lot of thought and energy into running that past, like a lot of consultation with fans and members, and overwhelmingly people saw us as United. They know we're from Melbourne, but they really kind of respond to the work that we do as United. We are the club for Melbourne, but also thinking about the greater impact outside of Melbourne and into Victoria. So those with a keen eye will see that there is the mighty V shape also integrated into the brand mark itself.
Colour's always been an interesting one with Melbourne United. We started 10 years ago when the club went from Tigers to United of having navy as the main colour of the organisation. That progressively got darker and darker, almost to the point where it became Melbourne's trendy black. But from our perspective, the colour of our state, being Victoria, is navy blue. So that for us was always going to be the main colour that sang true throughout the brand, but the colour cobalt is something that's come in.
People would have seen it in the past here and there with the club, but now it's really proudly part of our brand. And that really represents at the modern progressive side of who we are. And again, coming back to the energy and power that the game gives us.
And is linked to our purpose being the power of basketball. We see the cobalt colour as being nice and powerful, and something that our fans can really seek out and wear proudly at games when they bring the blue.
And then, we've pulled through the existing M and modified that. There's a lot of love from the fans, and people really attached to the current M as being really iconic and kind of synonymous with the club.
So the concept of including an icon that speaks to the First Nations and traditional owners on the land which we represent, being the Wurundjeri and Woiwurrung people, was a really exciting one.
Yeah, I think, especially with basketball, it's very, it's actually a growing sport, in general, but in the Indigenous community, it's a massive sport for our mob, and finally for for a lot of, especially young Indigenous people, to have a club that they could probably associate themselves with now. And, something they can see that, that's my culture and that's something that they, can hang on to. It just sort of gives them that connection to their country and to their people. And I think it's only going to promote the game more in these communities even more.
The United team did a lot of consultation with members of the First Nations community in Melbourne, including the Koori Trust and local Wurundjeri leaders, and really sought their counsel and consulted with them and spent a lot of time learning and listening from them.
So the logo and the inclusion of Bunjil, which is a wedge-tail eagle, which is a really special and spiritual figure for First Nations people, but also Wurundjeri people. And
in the way that we look at the logo, we see Melbourne as the English word of the people that we represent. But then the icon below that sort of underpins, holds up the rest of the logo is Bunjil. So
Bunjil being the creator of not only country but also men, I think it's very fitting that Melbourne United, where it's situated, it just that's the landscapes that Bunjil our creator created. And if you strip it all back, it just comes down to we're actually all equal people. You know what I mean? And it's about all of us connecting with one another, and our beautiful and strong culture. If you really look into it, that's all it is. All it is about bringing people along the journey and sharing our amazing stories and our amazing culture and bringing that together, to be able to share this beautiful country as one. And I think, the values that Melbourne United have align with our culture. I personally believe this could be one of the first sporting clubs ever to be doing, First Nations collaboration in terms of a rebrand. But it's not only going to encourage and bring more First Nations basketballers out, but it really does change that narrative of how we do things as a business.
At Melbourne United, we're really proud with all the work that we've done, being as inclusive as possible through our efforts in the multicultural space, the pride space, First Nations space. But we feel that with our updated brand, it gives us a really authentic way to connect and continue to use our platform to help educate, to help further key goals and outcomes and make real positive change in our community.
When we're thinking about United's role in community, it lent us to thinking about all the good things about basketball and basketball culture, as far as it has such a crossover with music, with hospitality, with entertainment, with the arts, and then with fashion. So we're thinking, how do we create an element that kind of talks about what makes Melbourne unique, and then how that clashes with basketball culture, or intersects with basketball culture. Yeah, we landed on an idea of Melbourne United being part of the fabric of the cities.
Yeah, I think we see this brand transformation as just the beginning of where we are. We couldn't be more excited about where the club is going, but equally as excited about where the game of basketball is going.
Melbourne United is going to be starting this, awesome new trend that I think will ripple through a lot of sporting organisations and beyond sport. I think this is a great step for Australia in general. We always talk and love our First Nations culture and people, but we never bring those two worlds together at times. And I think this is one of the first times that we're going to be able to achieve that. And I think that's a great thing. And we've got to a point now where, I couldn't find an elder in the Wurundjeri community that doesn't love what Melbourne United is doing.
So I'm hoping our refreshed brand really gives some energy to our fan base, really gives them something to be proud of. Being that it is linking further to our purpose and our values, I hope that they learn a little bit more about those things and understand it, and then feel very proud to be a Melbourne United fan. It's been a long time coming. We're really excited that we're finally here and we're at the point of going to launch. It's been a number of years and a lot of hours and a lot of work, but it's something that I think all of the Melbourne United staff and people that are involved in our organisation are proud of. So we're excited to take it to our fans, and we can't wait for the next generation of Melbourne United.